In this video, I will explain about static methods and interface. Before explaining with example, let me tell you the some definition. In Java 8, interfaces were enhanced with the ability to contain static methods, unlike abstract or default methods. Static methods in interface have a complete implementation and cannot be overridden by implementation class. Now I will show you with the example. Now I will create one interface with the static method. Here we have to select the interface and I am going to create the calculator interface. Now we have the interface calculator and here I am going to create one static method add static. To create static method we know we have to use the static keyword. Here the return type is int. I am adding two integer values. Here I am creating two variables x and y. Inside of this method I am adding two x and y and I am returning the value. Let me complete this. Now to use this add method, now we no need to create object for the calculator interface. We can directly call this method using the interface name. In the interface test we will test this. Let me clear this once. Now I am calling the add method. If you see, the main flexibility with static methods is we no need to depend upon objects. We can directly call with the class name. Here I am calling and I am passing 2 and 3 and the return type is int and I will print this value sum. Let me run this once. It's running still. If you see, the sum of two numbers got printed as the 5. The key features are static methods in interface. They belong to interface itself, not to objects of the class, and you can call them using interface name. They are mostly used as utility or helper methods, and static methods were introduced in Java 8. Default methods in interface. Before Java 8, interfaces in Java could only have abstract methods. The implementation of these methods has to be provided in separate class. Java 8 introduced default methods in interface, allowing methods with a body. That methods will provide the implementation. This makes interface more flexible and backward compatible. These are the key features of default methods in interface. Interfaces can now have both abstract methods and default methods. Default methods provide backward compatibility without breaking existing code. They allow API evaluation and support new features like streams and lambdas. Let me show you with example. Here we have the calculator interface. Now I am going to create one multiply method with a default multiply method. To create default method we have to use the keyword of default and the return type of this int and multiply. Okay, multiply and create two variables for two parameters x and y, and return the multiplication of these two numbers. Now let me tell you the use case. Here the interface itself providing some default default behavior for this multiplication. Okay. Now I am going to create one new class that is going to implement this calculator interface. Let me create that. My calculator I am creating, and this my calculator class implementing the calculator interface. Now to override this, we have to create same method over here and remove this and put override. What it is showing? Public. Okay. Okay. Here in this my calculator method, if you want to perform some extra validations you can perform over here. This is the main benefit of default methods. The interface will always provide some implementation, but additionally, in order to add some extra conditions, you can perform like this with the help of default methods. In Java 9, private methods we can create inside the interface. What is the use? Now I will explain with the example. Now I'm going to create one subtract method. Okay, it is a static method. As in, here I will do int and subtract, and I will give two x and y integer types. I will create wrappers x and y. Now I will subtract x and y, and I will return. Now what if the user will pass null? It will the method execution will fail. By this time in interface we can validate these things. I am going to create this one private method, and the return type is boolean, and check one. I'm going to create one check method. The parameter is integer. Check is not null, and value return. We have to give here parentheses. That's what we English. Return object. In object class we have non-null method. We can use that objects dot non-null. Here you can pass the value. Okay. Now I'm going to validate this. Now I'm using this private method. There is I will pass the x. Okay, this is not static, right? We can not only inside static methods we have to use we can call only static methods only. We cannot call non-static method from the static methods from inside the static method. Okay, if both values are not null, then perform the subtraction, else else no, 0. Wait, how to return 0 and throw an exception like this. We can throw exception over here. Okay, add exception method signature. Okay, this is the main use case. Like if you observe here, I am using private method for validations. These private methods can be accessed inside the calculator method only. If you using this uh, here, if you try to call the um, this check is not null, you cannot perform because this is the private method. The scope is inside the interface only. That is the main reason of this private methods.